So if you're moving to the Seattle area, you're exploring options, coming here from out of state, looking at different suburbs, one thing that's probably on the top of your mind is figuring out how much it's actually going to cost to move here in terms of buying a home, cost of living over in this area. So in this video, I wanted to go over the Seattle home prices as they have been changing very rapidly. I've gone up quite a bit over the last 12 months. I wanted to update a previous video I did almost a year ago on the greater Seattle area home prices, update that here for you so it can better help make a decision if you're thinking about moving over this way. So let's jump right into it. Hey everyone, I'm Bryce Greenleaf. I'm a local real estate agent here in the greater Seattle area, and I love making videos all about what it's like to live, work, eat, sleep, play here in the greater Seattle area. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell so you get notified whenever I put out a new video. I love helping you guys out and answering your questions. I get calls, texts, and emails multiple times a day almost at this point from those of you thinking about moving over in this direction, looking for some help on buying a home, as I am a real estate agent over here. So feel free to reach out to me here at my info. I'd be more than happy to make that transition over this way a little bit easier for you. But like I said, today's video is going to be all about the Seattle home prices and what to expect when you're coming over here and looking to buy a home. So there's a lot of different things that factor into the cost of buying a home. Outside of just the home prices, there are different programs when you're buying a home, different down payment amounts, earnest monies, closing costs, things like that. So very briefly, I'm gonna go over that right here, right now, and then we will jump into the actual home prices in different suburbs, go over some of the cheapest places that you can live. So stay tuned for that. We'll go over some cheaper options for you and then some of the more expensive areas as well. But first things first, when you're going to buy a home, you of course need a down payment. When you're putting an offer on a home, when you're going to buy a home, you have to have some money out of pocket in order to buy a home. So there are a lot of different programs available to you. Now, a common misconception is you need 20% down to buy a home. Completely false. You do not need 20% down to buy a home. You can buy for as little as 3% with a conventional home loan, which many of my clients have done. Now, if you're somebody that's in the boat that doesn't quite have 3% and you've heard about ways that you can buy a home, there are down payment assistance options where you can qualify for basically what's called a silent second mortgage to cover that down payment for you. So I have helped out a ton of clients go this route, doing that down payment assistance program. There's a few more limitations on interest rates. Your interest rate's going to be a little bit higher with that program and some other things. So if you have the money for a down payment, I recommend going that route. But if you're somebody that really wants to buy a home and you just don't quite have that down payment saved up, that can be an option for you. But outside of that, looking at least 3% down for your down payment with a conventional home loan. You can also go the FHA route, which is geared more towards people with a little bit lower credit scores, helps them get a better interest rate with that lower credit score, and you can go as low as 3.5% down with that down payment. And of course, you can go any higher as you want. You can go 5% down conventional. You can go 10%. It's really going to be specific to your situation and what would work best for you. So when you get to that point, definitely you'll want to talk with a mortgage lender, and I've got somebody I can refer to you that works over here in this area that helps out a lot of my clients. So if that's something you need, definitely reach out. But outside of that down payment, you're also going to have what's called closing costs. And closing costs is another out-of-pocket fee when you're going to buy a home. And that covers things like your lender fees, the cost you pay to get that mortgage, as well as title and escrow fees, which process the transfer of title and the handling of funds with the home that you buy, and then different prorations, taxes, things like that. So your closing costs, of course, varies quite a bit depending on the price of the home, where you're buying in, your type of loan program that you're using, things like that. So anywhere from 2 to 3% of your purchase price is a good estimate for those closing costs. Now, when you speak with that lender and you get narrowed down, okay, this is the program I'm using, this is the price range I'm shopping in, then you can get a pretty accurate estimate on what your actual closing costs could be. So if you're buying a $500,000 home, your closing costs might be in the $8,000 range on the very low end, $10,000. Again, it depends on the lender. Some lenders will charge you a lot more for those closing costs, but give you a lower interest rate, not really disclosing the fact that you're paying for that lower interest rate within those closing costs. So you got to compare the two, interest rate and closing costs, if you are shopping with lenders. So that's super important. But like I said, anywhere from 2 to 3% of the purchase price you could be paying in closing costs, and a lot of times it can be a lot lower depending on the lender. Outside of those closing costs, you have what's called an earnest money deposit. Now, this is not an extra fee. This is just a deposit you put down on the house when you're buying the home. Usually, We expect at this point at least 2%. It is negotiable, there's no standard rate, but at least 2% of the purchase price you put down as a deposit. The more you put down, the stronger your offer is. But that, like I said, it's just a deposit. It gets held for that 30-day period before you close on the home. Then once you get to closing, that money just gets applied towards your down payment or closing costs. So it's not actually an extra fee. So those are some of the main fees associated with buying a home in terms of out-of-pocket fees. Now, reason why probably most of you came to this video is talking about actual home prices here in Seattle, figuring out what pricing different suburbs are at. So let's jump into that. As you know, maybe from watching my previous videos or just by exploring this greater Seattle area, when I talk about Seattle, I talk about the Seattle metro area, which covers 3 counties and over 80 different cities. So I can't go over all 80 different cities here in this video. It would be an hour long. So I'm going to go over some of the most popular places people are moving to and what those costs of those suburbs are. And that will give you a good idea of some of the other outlying cities too. You know, if I'm talking about one specific suburb, you know, okay, the suburb to the north and to the south are going to be pretty similar in pricing. So it'll give you a good general overview of some different areas, and then you can go from there exploring. So starting in Seattle, your median residential home price right now, this is end of September of 2021. Of course, this is going to change going forward, but as of right now, it's $865. This is for residential homes. Does not include condominiums. This is just residential homes. So right there in Seattle is $865. People kind of get this common misconception when they're moving over here. They're going to pay Seattle home prices and pay $800,000 to $900,000 for their home. And that's false, because most of the people moving over here aren't actually moving to Seattle. They're moving to an outlying suburb. But this just kind of gives you a base rate of what to go on what Seattle is, and then from there. So one of the most common areas for people coming here out of state is what we call the east side. So this is east of Seattle, east of Lake Washington. That's what separates Seattle, and the east side is Lake Washington. So these are cities like Bellevue, Kirkland, and Redmond. Very, very popular for people to move to, mainly because of jobs and great schools. So Microsoft headquarters are over here in Redmond. Has one of the highest rated school districts here on the east side. There's multiple different school districts here on the east side, all very, very highly rated within Washington State, all at the top, really the top 5 school districts in Washington State. And then it has some great areas to live. Now, when you compare Seattle to, like, say, Bellevue, both 2 large downtown areas, completely stark differences on the feeling in those areas. When I'm talking about Seattle has a lot of homeless and drug problems and is very dirty, a lot of trash on the streets, versus Bellevue is a completely different world. It is very clean. You don't see those homelessness and drug problems downtown anywhere near as often. It is a very, very clean place to live. So it's very different feeling when you're going from Seattle over to Bellevue and that east side. So it draws a lot of people in there, and because of that, the home prices are very expensive. So here in Bellevue, kind of the epicenter of that east side, right now the median residential home price is $1.5 million. Now, like I said, this is a large downtown area, and then outside of downtown, they have plenty of great suburbs, subdivision type living on a cul-de-sac, on a street with tight-knit homes, things like that. So this median price does not count for condominiums. Like I said, none of these prices I'm going over account for condominiums, but there are a lot of condos in Bellevue that you could look at. On the south side of Bellevue, it is a bit cheaper. So you could find condos anywhere from the low 400s on the very low end, and then all the way up from there. There's very expensive condos and high-rise buildings in downtown Bellevue as well. So if you're looking for a condo, you can definitely find something a lot cheaper than $1.5 million, but that is the residential median home price right now. Just to the north of Bellevue, we have Kirkland. So Kirkland is a very popular area. They've got a great downtown area on the waterfront, very cool shops. And they've got the north side of Kirkland, the Totem Lake and Juanita areas. Also, Juanita's on Lake Washington, great beaches, kind of parks there right on the lake. And then Totem Lake is a big shopping center area. A bunch of different subdivisions living all throughout those areas. And then Google is located in Kirkland as well. So it draws people moving over that way for Google jobs, as well as GoDaddy and some other different companies there in Kirkland. So Kirkland's median home price right now is $1.35 million. So again, very expensive, a little bit cheaper than Bellevue, but also, very expensive. They've got a ton of new homes. Developers have gone through, torn down some of the older homes maybe with water views, some with, some without, but have torn down these old homes and built brand new $2 to $3 to $4 million homes there in Kirkland. And there are, of course, some older homes as well available on the cheaper end in the Kirkland area, closer to $1 million. But that median price right now is $1.35 million at this time, late September 2021. So going to the third city here on the east side that I'm talking about is Redmond. So like I said, Redmond is the Microsoft headquarters. That's where that is. And it is set a little bit further east of Kirkland and Bellevue. So Redmond is going to feel a little bit more like subdivision type living than Kirkland and Bellevue, because those locations are right along the freeway, versus Redmond is set off a little ways. Now they do have a downtown area with some shopping in the Kirkland Town Center with restaurants and shopping and things like that. So it's not like rural living or anything like that. For most of it, there's some options on the far east side, but you're still going to feel like you're living in a larger city. It's just not quite as far west, close to the freeway, as Kirkland and Bellevue. But the median home price in Redmond right now is $1.4 million. And of course, like I said, what's influenced that so much is people moving over here for jobs at Microsoft. That has exploded the city of Redmond over the years and has made those home prices go through the roof at $1.4 million as of right now. So this is the main east side that I'm talking about. So I'm going to go to the next section that I'm going to talk about here, what I call the southeast side. So the first city is Sammamish. Now, Sammamish is really close to the east side. It's still considered the east side, but I'm just grouping it down here with some of the other cities. So Sammamish is again set further east, east of Bellevue, a ways right on Lake Washington. Another desirable area just because it's got quick, convenient access to those large companies on the east side with high-paying jobs, as well as a great school district, great neighborhoods, some newer construction homes, some older homes, homes on acreage, homes in tight subdivisions with small lots. They've got a wide variety of homes available, newer shopping centers, newer hospital, things like that. Sammamish is a great area. Right now, the median home price in Sammamish is $1.45 million. So outside of Bellevue, this is the next expensive spot to be. Then if we want to head just south of Sammamish, we're going to go to ISSAQUAH here, another super popular place to live, people to move to. Very similar reasons to Sammamish. Great schools, great access to the east side, very clean areas, great neighborhoods, wide variety of different types of real estate available, newer homes, older homes, homes on larger lots, smaller lots, wide variety of things that you can get in ISSAQUAH. Right now, the median home price in ISSAQUAH is $1.35 million. So this is the group of the most expensive areas in the greater Seattle area that I have just gone over here. Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, ISSAQUAH, and Sammamish. Those are the most expensive spots that you can buy here in the greater Seattle area. So as we're going to move on through my list here, we're going to start to get to some cheaper options for those of you that are looking for that. So heading even further south of ISSAQUAH is an area called Maple Valley. So Maple Valley is super popular for people to move to, specifically for those that maybe wanted to be on the east side, the Bellevue, Sammamish, ISSAQUAH type areas, but have been priced out of it because it's so expensive. And a lot of those people have gone to Maple Valley. So the median home price in Maple Valley right now is $725,000. Now, Maple Valley is another great area that's really up and coming. Ton of people moving there. Home prices are going up pretty fast. It's got a great school district. It's a very clean area. A lot of new construction going on down that way. So it's drawing a lot of people in with that $725,000 median home price because it is quite a bit cheaper than ISSAQUAH, Sammamish, Bellevue, those kinds of areas. Now it is a bit further south, so that commute's going to be longer, but it's a very popular area right now. All right, so let's go to the south side of Bellevue. So this is really where your cheapest real estate is gonna be. There's a ton of cities down here, South King County and Pierce County. I'm gonna go over 5 of them, the median prices, but there are a lot of different cities wrapped in here, and you'll get a good idea of kind of what the median prices are gonna feel like. Now, the reason that these areas are going to be cheaper, a large part is, not as highly rated school districts, things like that. Maybe not as clean and tidy areas as some of these other cities on the east side I went over. So it is going to bring those home prices down a lot. But there are still some great neighborhoods in these cities that people are moving to that could be great options for you. Not to talk you out of moving to these areas. It's just a little bit different feel from those east side areas that are over $1 million for the median home price, of course, when the home prices are almost half of that. So first one I'm going to go over here is Auburn. Auburn median home price is $600,000. So Auburn again is almost directly south of Seattle. It's set off a little bit further east. Auburn has a wide variety of places because it is a little bit further east. There are some acreage opportunities in Auburn, some more rural living opportunities, kind of give you that feeling of being a little bit more rural while still being very close to main cities, hustle vibe, things like that. So there are some homes available with acreage, like I said. So median home price is $600,000 here in Auburn. Now, Federal Way, another very, very popular city for people to be moving to. A lot of people living in Federal Way just because of its convenient access right off I-5. Median home price here is $560,000. This has gone up, of course, very rapidly, like everywhere around here. With people getting pushed out of Seattle, they're having to go further and further south. Still want to be right along I-5 to try and get convenient access to still commute to Seattle. Now, that is a bit of a brutal commute at this point, but there's plenty of people that still do it. So median price there is about $560,000 for residential homes. Now, Kent is another spot. Again, more convenient access to the Seattle kind of area if you're working in Seattle, because it's not quite as far south as some of these ones I'm going over. But because of that, it is a little bit more expensive at $610,000 for the median price. That is solely because it is further north than some of these other spots. So you're going to pay a little bit more to get closer to Seattle. All right, so heading further south, the two furthest south areas I'm going to go over here. First one is Tacoma. Tacoma is by far going to be the cheapest option on this list. Median home price is $450,000. Now, a reason for that, there's a lot of good up-and-coming neighborhoods in Tacoma and a lot of not-so-great places in Tacoma, just depending what you're looking for. Tacoma traditionally had a feeling of a lot of people didn't want to move there because of crime and other things going on in that area. Now it is very up and coming. Recently, it was actually, before COVID happened, it was the hottest real estate market in the entire country for a while because so many people were getting displaced out of Seattle, moving more in the Tacoma area and taking advantage of those cheaper real estate prices there. So it is very up and coming. There's a lot of great neighborhoods still in Tacoma, still decent spots to live for sure, but it is quite a bit cheaper than anywhere else that you're going to find in the Seattle metro area, with a median home price still in the $450,000 range. And then the last one on my south side list here is going to be Puyallup, and Puyallup median price is about $525,000 right now. So the reason this one's a little bit more expensive median price than Tacoma is because Tacoma has a downtown area that's got some older, more rundown, cheaper homes that kind of weighs that median price down, versus Puyallup doesn't have quite as much of that. So not to say there's a huge drastic difference in the pricing between Puyallup and Tacoma like it might seem, with $75,000 difference in the median prices here. If you're going to be looking for something like a 3 to 4 bedroom home that's built, you know, within the last 20-25 years, it's going to be pretty similar between Tacoma and Puyallup. It's, like I said, with Tacoma, it just drags down that median price with those older kind of downtown, some of them a little bit more rundown homes that drag that down a bit. But Puyallup right now is about $525,000. So these are going to be some of your cheapest options to live in the Seattle metro area. Again, like I said, this is, if you're working in Seattle, this is not going to be super realistic to commute to. Now, there are people that do it. I wouldn't personally do it myself. It's too long of a commute. Traffic along I-5 in Tacoma is always terrible. It seems like they've been doing construction there for 10 years. I don't know why, but it just is insane. It always gets backed up through there. So that would not be an easy commute going to Seattle. Like I said, there are people that do it. I know people that do it. Maybe they do it every single day, which is crazy to me, but they do. And there's some that just work, you know, at home part-time, and they go into the office 2 or 3 days a week, and they do it because they're willing to make that commute, to sacrifice to get more for their money, get a bigger home down there, which is great. So it's just about what your priorities are. All right, so the last area that I'm going to go over here is on the north side of Seattle. So this is Snohomish County. So there are some great spots to live up here, and this is kind of in the middle of what I've talked about. The east side and the southeast side were the more expensive areas that I talked about. The south side was the cheapest, and this is going to be more in the middle of what I'm talking about here, with some cheaper options, again, on the far north side that I'm going to go over last. But the first one I'm going to go over here is Bothell. So Bothell's kind of on that edge of being on the north side and the east side. When I talked about the east side and Kirkland and Redmond and Bellevue, Bothell is very, very close. So a lot of people still consider that east side. I just put it in this category. But right now, the median home price in Bothell is $933,000. So it's quickly approaching that million range. The reason for that is because of the convenient access to Kirkland, Redmond, and Bellevue. Like I said, there are so many of those tech companies in that area, specifically Microsoft headquarters, along with Google and Facebook, and Amazon is now in Bellevue, so a ton of tech companies over there. So a lot of people have moved to Bothell to get a little bit more for their money versus the Kirkland, Bellevue, and Redmond cities, but still being close enough to make that commute pretty easy for them. So that has exploded Bothell real estate lately, as well as the fact that they have a very, very good school district, North Shore School District. So a lot of great things about Bothell. You will still get more bang for your buck there than those cities just to the south, but it is getting a lot more expensive. So next city I'm going to go over here is Linwood. Linwood is just further west of Bothell, so it's not quite as convenient access to the east side, but you're going to get a much larger break on the pricing in Linwood. Now, it is getting much more expensive very rapidly, again, like all these cities, because it is closer to Seattle when you were talking about Snohomish County, but the median price right now in Linwood is $700,000. So again, I would not expect this median price to last this low for very long at all. I think it's going to skyrocket just because, like I said, there's so many people getting displaced out of Seattle that can't afford the Seattle area or just don't like living in Seattle for many different reasons, that all the downsides there are to the city of Seattle. So a lot of them are coming north. The reason, the same reason Bothell exploded and is now at 933, Linwood is going to explode. There is the light rail coming to Linwood, which is a new transportation system coming up north, a train system that's going to shoot down I-5 and make getting to work hopefully a bit easier for people up there. So it is just going to explode values in Linwood. So if you're looking for somewhere to buy that has long-term growth, long-term very, very strong potential for large increases in your home value and building a ton of equity pretty quick, Linwood should be close to the top of that list because it is going to grow, in my opinion, very rapidly. I'm surprised it's still only at 700, to be frank. Now, 700 is very expensive. I grew up in this area, and it's crazy to me that it's so expensive right now compared to the prices when I was a kid growing up here. But that's just the way the world works right now, and how real estate has gone is specifically the last 12 months with everything shooting up. So I would expect this just to continue in the Linwood area. It's going to get more and more expensive. All right, next area I'm going to go over is just a bit further north of Linwood. It's called Everett. Everett is median price right now is $630 at the moment. So Everett is the largest downtown area north of Seattle, and it has some of the issues that many downtown areas have. Like I said, Bellevue doesn't really have these issues on the east side, but Everett does have some of these issues similar to Seattle. No, not anywhere near on the scale that Seattle does. It is not dirty with trash everywhere, tent cities all over the place, nearly like Seattle. There is some of that, just not nearly as much, but Everett does have some of those problems, which kind of drags down that median price a little bit. And then, of course, it is a little bit further north in the Linwood area, so it's that much longer of a commute to Seattle, people trying to work in Seattle and live out there. So Everett's got a lot of different areas, a lot of different types of neighborhoods. You've got the downtown areas with cheaper homes. They're a little bit older, of course, built in early 1900s, craftsman style homes, kind of on the cheaper end. A lot of them that are run down, need some help. And then outside of there, you've got some great subdivisions, some great places to live within the south side of Everett, the southeast side of Everett, and then on the west side of Everett, you're on the Puget Sound. So you've got some waterfront homes, some more expensive living options over there if you want a view of the Puget Sound. So it's got a wide variety there in Everett. Right now, the median price is $630. All right, going a little bit further north of Everett, northeast of Everett, actually, not too much farther north, but that's Lake Stevens. You're going to go over the Highway 2 Trestle is what it's called. You're going to go over to Lake Stevens there. It's right on the lake. Lake Stevens is a little bit smaller of a community. It's growing very rapidly. A lot of people are looking to move over there, specifically because it's really considered to have the better school district of all of the other surrounding cities, and that's Everett and Marysville. Really, Linwood or Lake Stevens is considered to have a little bit better of a school district, so a lot of people are moving over there. Just in Lake Stevens right now, they are building a new development with 220 new construction homes going in. They just started building them. So they're wrapping through those, hoping to supply some more homes for the insane amount of demand. And they're also building a brand new Costco here in Lake Stevens that's supposed to be done by Christmas of next year of 2022. Right now, the median home price is $650 in Lake Stevens. It's just going to keep shooting up. It's gone like crazy in the last 12 months. And there's, it's just going to keep going. There, like I said, there are some new construction homes available, and then there are plenty of subdivision living, normal size lots, anywhere from 8,000 to 15,000 square feet on lot sizes. And then you can go on kind of the outskirts of Lake Stevens, and there's a lot of rural living opportunities as well for acreage plus properties. If that's something you're into, there's definitely many options for that as well. So Lake Stevens will keep expanding. Right now, median price is about $650. All right, and going just a little bit further north in Marysville, this is the last one on my list. This is the cheapest one up north that I'm going over right now. Marysville is $550,000 for the median home price. So this is directly north of Everett. You just keep going up I-5 and you get into Marysville there, and $550 is the median price. So one of the reasons this is, as of right now, still quite a bit cheaper than some of those other cities that are pretty close, like Everett and Lake Stevens, is because Marysville is just that much further. So for those people that are trying to live up north and work in the Seattle area, commuting to and from Seattle and Marysville is very difficult. It's almost unrealistic. It's similar to like when I talked about people commuting from Tacoma to Seattle. Like I personally wouldn't do it. There's people that do. Same thing with Marysville to Seattle. I wouldn't do it. There's people that do because they want more for the money and they're willing to make that sacrifice and sit in traffic for longer. So again, just depends on your lifestyle. But right now, median price is $550. Again, a lot of new construction has been going on in Marysville that has built a lot over the few years as people keep going further and further north. More demand up there. People looking for cheaper options, so they keep going further north. So right now, $550 is that median price, and expect that to just keep rising as people keep going up north. Even further north than that in Arlington is another city that's building quite a bit just past Marysville. So Marysville's, you know, like I said, built a lot. So they've got a lot of shopping centers, all the shopping that you need there, the Costco, the Winco shopping, grocery shopping area, the Targets, all the main shopping centers there. They've got an outlet mall in Marysville, which is very popular for clothing shopping, things like that. So it's just going to keep going and going and going. But this is the Snohomish County area that I just covered. So north side of Seattle, you can see these are kind of the prices are kind of in the middle, like I mentioned on the east side of Seattle and the south side of Seattle. These are kind of in the middle here. So these give you some different options for home prices in the greater Seattle area, some suburbs. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Like I said, if you've got questions, feel free to reach out anytime. Be more than happy to answer your questions, assist you in moving over here. If you're looking to buy a home in this area, feel free to reach out to me here at my info, and check out one of these 2 videos right up here if you want some more content on what it's like living and moving over here in Seattle. But I appreciate you watching this video.